What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Solo Mole Masterclass. We got our weathered mole here with the Dolovine livery. We got our Geo on board, a couple of store all crates. All right, so my goal today is to give you the confidence to be able to run this ship. We're going to show you how to set it up pre-gaming with our storage crates. That way you're set up to be able to handle hand minables, rock minables, which would be your Hadnite, Dolovine, Baradom, Fenmaline kind of stuff on the ground, as well as all the ship stuff, Asteroid, Planet, Moonside, whatever the case. All right, so starting with the very basics here, we're going to look at the actual mole build that I've selected, all of its components, laser loadouts, gadgets, or well, modules in this case, and discuss what might be the best option for you. First off, guys, you're not going to get anywhere without the Dolovine livery. It's a must-have. It's a must-have. But on a serious note, looking at the actual build I have, this might be a little weird for you guys to see. It's not your normal mole build where people just go maxed out, grade A industrial. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. I want to be as hard to detect as possible, and with this build in nav mode, being able to use your full thrusters to move fast when you're mining, you can maintain a sub 20k signature. I mean around 16 to 17k EM signature, which means you're under 20 kilometer detection range even in nav mode. And then switching into SEM, I can get this all the way down to 5-6 kilometer detection range. So even in the mole, you are vastly harder to detect than your average industrial ship. And with the changes to stealth and cross section, your big size doesn't matter as much unless people are intentionally pinging their radars to try to find larger ships that are trying to hide. Now, cross sectional ping is definitely something to keep in the back of your mind when you're trying to be stealthy around POIs and such as you're flying around, you know, in Pyro or around contested areas and Stanton. You still want to be aware that you are very large, and if somebody is smart enough to be pinging the area hunting for ships or just looking around, that will detect you. But it takes an active step rather than you just passively showing up on radars as a lockable icon because of your cross section. So with this setup, I am a lot harder to find. When you couple that on top of knowing how to avoid making yourself an easy target by going away from POIs, points of interest, you just become that much safer in your mining, especially if you're looking for these high quality materials that you want to be able to craft with, or if you're worried about going into, you know, jumping gates or getting into stations. You can get a lot closer to the jump point or to your hangar or wherever you want to go before some ne'er-do-wells can detect you, and it is incredibly valuable to think this way. So that said, my reason for choosing these components should be very obvious as a low-risk safety measure that doesn't negatively impact your ship's ability to perform. The only thing I've noticed is on some planets where it's really hot and you're in VTOL, if you don't give adequate pips to your cooler, you will notice your engine starting to overheat even at minimal pip allocation to engines. It's really easy to get around. I just put one extra pip into my cooler. As far as where to find these, I highly recommend using Erkul. You know, we have our shopping cart here just to show you these real quick. You're looking at finding the Winterstar XL over at Krill 4. You can find the Civilian A Shield at Cousin Crow's, at Arkel 1, at New Babbage as well. You can get the Ion Surge Pro from Dumper's Depot at Grimhex, as well as New Babbage and her L5. The Bolt Stealth Quantum Drive, which allows you to travel at nav speeds with a lower signature, you can find over at her L2. I think it is worth mentioning the Bolt is pretty slow as far as quantum drives go, but to me the trade-off of having that very low signature so I can be in nav mode on planets and moons and all these areas, especially out in the asteroid clusters that I like to mine in Pyro, where you do have NPC ships that like to sometimes come after you, having that lower signature to be able to still move quickly and avoid that is really valuable. And you can get your hands on the grade A size 2 stealth. I think it's the Spicule or Spicule. I haven't found one yet. I have some buddies that have them, but I'm trying to source it myself. Until then though, this is the grade B stealth Bolt Quantum Drive, and it still gets the job done. Weapons wise, to me, not really that important, but if you do end up in a situation where you're up against some like dumb little Mustang NPC or like a Spirit or something out in Pyro, I recommend putting a cannon on. The ballistics cannons have less signature, so they won't raise your signature as much as the laser cannons will, but you could throw some M5s on here. Attritions are a good choice as well for dealing damage to ships at the size 2 level. It's really up to you at this point. I just throw on some Tarantula GT870s. There are a couple of Mark II cannons that I never really plan to use, but if I need to, they're there. The much more important part you guys are probably curious about is the laser build. So on my nose, and you can also, fun fact, if you didn't know this, when you click on a laser head, it should sort of highlight it like red. It's kind of hard to see when it flashes, but as you move, if you look here on the helix in this crappy hover image as I mouse over it. See how it turns red there? So this is a good way to tell like which of these are which head as you're swapping them out on your ship. I know it can be a little clunky to use. You can see when I highlight the Hofstede now, it turns red right here. So this is my ballsy build where we've got the triple surge set up on our Helix up front. Outside of using the triple surge to get to the really hard stuff that you find that you really don't want to leave behind, I would also run a double Riger C3 and then a Torrent 3 as a good option. The Torrent 3 is my favorite module, man. Honestly, across the board, the Torrent 3 is the GOAT, in my opinion, for anybody who spends a lot of time mining because of how fast it allows you to fracture rocks. Some of you have probably seen me use this module and you've seen it firsthand. If you haven't, you need to go get a Torrent 3 and go take it out and try it. But back to the build real fast. We get the Helix up front with the triple surge or running double Riger C3s and a surge or double Riger C3s and a focus. You know, pick your poison there. This is my balls to the wall setup with triple surge. Stampedes can't stack. I'm pretty sure Brants can't stack, but surges you can fire as many as you need all together, and they will compound the reduction in resistance and the increase in power. It's a wild experience. It's definitely an advanced maneuver, but it can make you go from being limited to 20k, 30k rocks up to cracking like a 60k mass rock in a golem with a double surge setup, or in this case, a mole with a triple surge setup. So it definitely comes with its own risk factors, but if you want to practice hard mode and get really good at doing this to be able to walk away with more high value loot that you would otherwise leave on the table because you can't crack it, yeah, give it a shot. It's fun. Outside of the Helix, we've got our workhorse of the ship, the laser that I use the most on starboard side. It's on this side too because as you're jumping back down the ladder, it's immediately there to your right. So it's the one I go to the most often. So I use that. And if you're wondering why not put that on the front, well, really quick aside, each of these heads have ranges, optimal ranges, and the Helix range sucks. It's very short. You want your Helix on the nose, and then your Hofstede and your Arbor, or your Hofstede and your Klein, whatever laser setup you like on port and starboard, because they will all be in their sweet spots at the same time, versus having the Helix on left or right and you having to sort of catty corner the ship in weird ways because of the ranges being all jacked up. That said, I've got my favorite module on the Hofstede. So the Hofstede already boosts your window, the green zone, when you're mining, which is nice. So I used to run focuses until I discovered the beauty of Torrent 3s. I run double Torrent 3s on it because they stack together and they each give nearly 50% speed boost to fracturing once you're in that green zone, the charge rate. You have the charge window, which is how big your green zone is, and then you have the charge rate, which is how fast you charge that green zone, and the Torrent 3 is a beast. Most rocks that I encounter in the mole, asteroid or otherwise, the Hofstede can usually handle. I will say on moons and planets, they are a bit bigger, and the Helix gets a lot more runtime, but especially out in space, my Hofstede is the most used head that I have, and with the changes in 4.7 with mining, it is a lot more common now that when you break a rock, you have to fracture it again, even all the way down to like 500 mass, and at that point, even a Hofstede is like a Helix. It's way too powerful. So, for the first time in my mining career, I am actively and happily using the Arbor mining head as my port side head, and it also has a slightly weakened laser because I put a Focus 3 on it. The Focus 3 does also nerf your laser power just a little bit. I think about 1% with the Focus 3. And then, of course, I threw a Torrent 3 on there to speed up its fracture rate. And it's got a really good extraction rate, too, for pulling materials in. It's faster than the Hofstede, which is nice. But when you get those, 500 mass recite rocks that are super volatile, being able to use your Arbor is a lifesaver. It is my cleanup laser for all the fractures that are way too small for the Hofstede and definitely too small for the Helix. This is a balanced setup that I think will take you all to the next level. I always recommend people to try out different things. Some people just like different laser heads, but the Helix Hofstede Arbor setup for me has been just my go-to from Evo through PTU and here in live. There's no way I would change this. I might modify my modules a little bit on the Arbor, like maybe throw another Torrent 3 if I notice that the window's never really small enough to be a concern, because why use a Focus 3 if the window's never really small enough to make me think I need it? I'd rather just put another Torrent 3 on and speed up the fracture even further. The only laser that I'm not really using torrents on anymore is the Helix, just in case, because on moon and planets I'm seeing a lot bigger rocks, and out in the Keeger Belt and Nix, the asteroids get really big, so having the surge capability is pretty awesome. You could even run a C3 and double surge, or a Torrent 3 and double surge. There's so many options, man, and that's why when it comes to mining, there is no one method beats them all. It is a game of versatility and options, and it goes from your ship and your laser and modules here also to your gadgets that you bring along with you. And another quick note, you'll notice, so torrent 3s and focus 3s. These are passive modules. As long as your laser is on hitting a rock, the bonuses from those passive modules, the focuses, the torrents and such, they are active. The surges, you actually have to punch a button to activate. And we're going to show you guys that here, because if you don't know where this option is, it's going to prevent you from being able to use this to your full extent. So if you go over to your vehicles into the mining tab, you're going to see activate mining module slot 1, 2, and 3. By default, it is left alt 1, left alt 2, and left alt 3. And again, on surges, you can hit all 3 of them. Careful, that gets crazy. The active modules are the only ones where you have to do this. These are your stampedes, your brants, I think your rhymes, your surges, of course. Your passives, you don't have to worry about this. They're just on. It's literally, it's in the name, passive. They're just on when the laser hits. They're not on when the laser's off, just to be really clear. They're only on when your laser is actively hitting the rock. You notice that when the windows change and all, not too bad. But yeah, make sure you got these module buttons pinned to the right spot on your sticks, or, you know, using default keyboard and mouse, whatever. Now you know where they are. Last thing on the mole's components, because I know it'll probably come up, because now we actually have the choice to change out our radar. I would not use the grade A size 2 industrial radar because there's really no point. Right now, radar does really 2 things with the ships. One of them being specific to mining, or at least in my case, and that is how far you will get that sort of pip appearing aim assist when you're in combat, not as important, and how far or how close you have to be for, you know, an unknown area that you've pinged to show you that, hey, this is orotite, or this is a harvestable, or this is galacticite or hadonite. And I will say that I had the industrial grade A radar for a little bit, and the discovery of the objects was still right around 3.5K, which was kind of normal. The military actually gives you discovery up to like about 5 kilometers. If you really want to bias towards being able to see what you're pinging and scanning when you're mining on planets and moons and everything a little bit faster, you can use the military radar to get sort of a passive, sooner look at what you're seeing. I, of course, being the stealth guy, I'm running Cassandra. That is the size 2 stealth grade A component that you can pick up at New Babbage. You can pick up all of these at New Babbage. The radars are all, I think, just currently there. I don't think they're at other places yet. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but I, of course, I am running the Cassandra stealth component for keeping my signature as low as possible, and I still get item discovery at about 4.5 kilometers, which is awesome. Given that there's another way to discover what things are much farther out, that's sort of a secondary effect that isn't all that important. I'd rather just have a high-grade stealth radar that's going to drop my signature just a little bit more. To me, that's a lot more important. Again, you can find all your radars at New Babbage. All right, getting back into the discussion about pre-gaming your mole and getting it set up, we're going to take a peek at what I have in our stall crates here to give you an idea of what it's like to come out prepared. Definitely check your local refineries for what gadgets and all are available. Some things like the surges and the Ryger C3s you can only get at Levski. So I would encourage everybody to visit Levski to grab some stuff there. You can get the Torrent 3s from Krell 1, Checkmate, a few other places. They're pretty common. And Focus 3s are damn near everywhere. You can get them at Lev, Krell 1. You can get them here at Checkmate. They're not hard to come by. Whenever you're looking for that stuff, it's under the utility tab at the refineries. You can also find store all crates at refineries, usually just the 1s and the 2s. If you need the 4s or larger, then you got to go to the cargo centers. So what you'll notice here in my store all crate, the second one that I use actually I have a heavy set of armor here just in case I'm on a planet that's a bit hotter or colder and I need a little bit more protection versus the piecemeal set I'm wearing. But I also would typically use a second SCU box for storing all the hand minables or gems, which I'll demonstrate a cool way to do that here in a second. But in looking at our other crate, you're going to notice a lot of stuff here, a lot of gadgets, some extra bits for handheld multi-tools if anything goes weird, like you break your Geo, which I will show you guys as well. Some ammo, drinks for sure, because we don't have that, you know, little trick we had before. If you know, you know. If you don't, ask somebody in the comments. But we've also got some extra C3s, some Focus 3s, we've got some Torrent 3s, Stampedes, just extra modules that we can change out in the field if we need to. For whatever reason, we want to replace one of the modules on one of our laser heads, or if you're in an explosive scenario where you overcharge a rock and it blows your modules off of your ship, you can just go back and repair and get them back, or you can swap them in the field. It's up to you. It gives you, again, that versatility. Versatility is the thing with mining. Give yourself the option to do more while you're out, and you'll find yourself running a much more efficient operation. As far as the gadgets go, I like to carry, we have more Optimaxes than I would normally carry at a time. I like to carry about 4 of each of the important gadgets I I want to carry at a time. So I usually have sabers and Optimaxes, which the sabers are an incredible resistance buster. They also give you a 50% boost to that green window, 50% reduction to resistance, and yes, this even helps you in most cases where your resistance is showing minimal already, like 0. There's still, if you throw a saber on, it's going to weaken the rock even further than that. But if you've got a rock that has low resistance but the instability is like 700, you probably don't want to put a saber on it. You're going to want to do something like a wave shift or a Bormax, where you're actually reducing laser instability by a pretty large margin, about 35%, and then boosting the charger window size by 100%. It does reduce the rate at which you fracture the rock. You know, there's all these trade-offs, but again, we go back to versatility. In fact, earlier I used the technique of a wave shift on a massive Stellaron rock where I double surged the helix to actually break it, and it was a lot of fun. Check it out. Okay, we got a wave shift gadget, which does some reduction in instability. It's not as good as a Bormax, but, you know, it'll also buff our window for when we try to do a triple surge on this thing, or however many we need. You want to hold down your inner thought F key, right click to place, and then now you should get the hologram. Now you want to make sure you put it below eye level, otherwise you might put it on upside down. So, about here, there we go. Then we can crouch down and mess with the wave functions. This one's really easy. Wow, 98%. Let's go. All right, we got those surges. This is going to get a little hairy. We're going to try firing 1. Firing 2. There it is, there it is. Double surging. Come on. Get up there, get up there. It's hard, man. Oh. Ow. All right, well, we got it. That was a little rough. Now, in that case, I think the wave shift got it done. It gave me some window back. It reduced some of that instability by about that 35%, which is a big help. I would have preferred to have had a Bormax for that, honestly, because it's like a 75% reduction in instability. Would have been amazing when using those surges, but I didn't have one on me. So, the main gadgets that I would get: Saber, Optimax, Bormax, and wave shift. There are, I think, 1 or 2 others, like the Okunis or something, which you can check out as well. I encourage everyone to look at different gadgets to see what they do, because again, there's no one gadget that rules them all. Different scenarios require different things, and having like 4 of each is nice. Always good though to bring some med pens. Make sure you got adequate healing stuff on you, some detox pens to bring that blood toxicity down. I'm always carrying some of that on me in the worst case that something happens, like yesterday where my Geo killed me. Oops, hang on. Retract weapons. What the f? So random, man. That's the first time that's happened. I know that some folks have had issues with getting like pushed through the planet when they're dealing with their mole. So I would be careful when you're maybe landed to send your elevators down first and then maybe jump out, you know, try to limit the chance that you're going to get screwed like that. Now, all right, here is the thing that seems to surprise a lot of people. It is the ATLS. Now, in Evo, you could walk on and off the ship with it without really any issue. It was kind of nice. You can see it's about at the height you would need when leaving the ramp, but things changed when we went into PTU and into the live build. But the workaround's pretty easy. Now, fire at the front. I'll show you guys why you shouldn't fire at the rear. Fire at the front of your Geo, and you can easily pull it on and off the ship. Of course, as I try to show you this, it's going to get all weird on me. Sometimes you got to push it forward and around like this. Geo shenanigans is something that we're all kind of used to, but generally it's fine, and they just kind of push it in. This would be the one time that it wants to really act a fool. It doesn't usually jump up in the ship like that, but even if it does, it'll fall back down. You can just kind of place it in a spot where you can get to your button here. It does not come without risk. Again, this thing killed me yesterday for no reason. But yeah, anytime you're dealing with it, you know, get a good grab on it and just either push it out this way and bring it around the ship, or try to bring it out through the back. It tends to work really well. And then you can do what you need to, mining whatever you find, and then get out of it first, and then just put it back in the ship. Just like this. There we go, that's a little better. Even if it drops down like that, don't panic. Don't panic, it's not gonna fall through. At least it hasn't for me yet. And if it does, at least claiming your Geos are a pretty quick process. So at the end of the day, you'll be all right. Now I'm going to show you a couple other things here. When you're dealing with getting things out of the geopod, in my experience, it's best to grab this. Why? Because you don't want to risk tractoring the Geo from behind. We'll get to that. Grab the pod, or open it, actually. That works too. If you have enough room to carry the stuff with you, you totally can do that. But if it's like full of gems and you're not able to put them on your person, then you would want to actually grab this, if it'll let me. This thing's acting up, which go figure it would as I'm trying to make a video. Let's move the Geo a little closer here. Sometimes it lets me carry it. Right now it doesn't want me to carry it. So very carefully very carefully. Nope, it just happened. There it is, guys. I was gonna show you that anyway. That's why you don't want to tractor the back of the Geo. I was already planning to show you that little issue, and there it goes. It's all jacked up now. So you don't want this to happen, because you can't get it back on the Geo. I have tried so many times to make that work. This is how you break your Geo, which I wanted to demonstrate, so we're fine there. You're supposed to have the option to carry this, which I think I did have recorded so I can show you guys. But yeah, once you break this off the back of the Geo, there is no way to reattach it. It's busted. And I don't know that I can even get the damn box out of it now. Oh, there we go. Yep, I can save the pod at least. So I can show you what I was gonna show you, which is you would either place it down by hand or just place it on the grid next to your store all crates, and then you can actually go in and select everything you would need. They all pop up here. So like on this side, we could go to the Geopod, and on this side, you could go to either of the 2SU store all crates and then just hit move all, and they pop into your 2SU store all crate just fine, which is really nice. I'm gonna put these on my person and send them into my inventory so I don't end up losing these, because as you can see, these are all some pretty good high quality materials for crafting: Hadanite, Genolite, and some Dolomite. I'll probably just claim the Geo and keep this as a spare box in case the Geo boxes bug at all. I've never really had to carry an extra Geopod, but having one just in case things get weird is probably smart. There we go, we got our Geo back with its backpack and an extra pod, pretty cool. If you're wondering why I don't bring extra Argo bags, for one, because of their dimensions, they're really annoying to put in here, and two, with how little we get from each asteroid and rock now, the extra bags just don't feel necessary. It's rare that I fill up the mole these days before I head back to refine what I found and move on. So yeah, honestly, just not necessary. I'd rather have a Geo and some store all crates down there, some extra versatility. Definitely want to make sure you've got a good repair tool with you, either an SRT rifle like this, which you can now get at cargo centers and refineries. Thank you, CIG. Not just limited to Platinum Bay anymore. And of course, back here, you've got plenty of canisters that you can use to refill your repair rifle and all, which I need to make sure I go drop these off. But yeah, you got your large canisters, small, all that. What you're hearing in the background right now is the Geo's thrusters. Don't worry about that. That is just a known issue where it's like not detecting a good solid ground and it will just fire like this. It's mostly just an annoying visual bug. I don't know if that's what actually killed me the other day. If I get close to it. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't the thrusters that killed me. It was some other weird shenanigans. Huh, warning, moving parts. Keep hands clear during operation. Oh boy, see with that little tag there and just the rework to the Argo Mole, it really does feel like Drake with OSHA standards. So two other things that are really cool about the Mole now is that we have engineering, which if you noticed, these doors are staying open. I'll show you how to do that. And we also have lamp, which is fantastic. It's not in the turrets when you're mining, but at least it's in the pilot seat, which is cool. Now, one of the things I do here, the only thing I really do here, is I highlight the doors tag, and then I go to the main doors that I want to keep open and lock them open. You just click on the door tab here. You can open and close the door, lock it open and close. You can do this with any of the doors. If this is too noisy, you can actually turn off the other connections so you just see doors, and you can manipulate them however you want. Just keep in mind when you need to take a drink or something and life support needs to be turned on, or if you like to keep it on, that everything down in the cargo bay area where those laser heads are get regularly exposed to vacuum or whatever temperatures on whatever moon you're on. So I like to keep the upper door by the ladder closed, at least to keep the life support in here functioning just fine. That way we don't have those concerns. The only thing that I miss about the old mole is our third MFD that we had right here. The gold pass mole is amazing, but I miss, like, look at that. We have like a mount. We have all the room here for that third MFD. Can we get back the third MFD, guys? Please? Alright, we are setting course for a RAB site and asteroid cluster. The RAB sites and RMBs out in Pyro are fantastic places to go mining, as well as plenty of the planets and moons, some of them better than others. Monox, Bloom, and Adir out in Pyro are incredibly resourceful. When you're actually looking at your map, this is a reliable way to see what you'll note or what is on a planet. Now, our journal where it says where to mine, that's outdated. But here, if you see it says ship minables, Hephaestonite, iron, tin, Stellaron, and then you got Galacticite, Aphrodite, Dolomite, Hadanite. This is reliable. This is going to be on the planet. And more importantly, if it is the main material listed here, it is going to be the bulk material in that cluster of rocks, because now in mining, if you guys don't know, you have pairings that are always together. Azlerite, agresium, and titanium, hephaesonite, silicon, and quartz, stellaron and terranite, resite and laranite, quantanium and beryl. Like, they're always going to have these mixes, and for the most part, depending on which is the head material, the signatures that you scan for will be consistent as well. They actually matter, because you can actually know what you're going towards. See, we spawned in here, and we've got a ship that's 10 kilometers out. We would actually be in detectable range. It looks like a game rules player ship, because it's just kind of sitting there 0 meters per second, which is fine. But if we were to drop down to our SCM, now we're out of detectable range, even this close. I'll typically run full silent. You know, I'll just keep one engine pip, minimal radar, and then minimal cooler to maintain a good stealth presence, because we're going to drop down again below a 3-kilometer detection range as we move around and assess the situation. I don't see any hostile NPCs, which is good. You always want to keep your head on a swivel when you're mining, especially out in Pyro. We switched to our scanner mode, though. Look at that, 3385. 3385, guys, remember it. That is Resite. 3185 is always Stellaron. Signatures matter now. What I've done, I'll show you. I pull out a notepad like this, and I actually take note of the signatures and where at. Terminus ring, Fuego, and I'll do like an R&B site if I'm there. And I take note of the signatures of a single, a double, a triple, quadruple. These are the cluster numbers. And these are constant. So when you start to see these signatures, you'll know, hey, that's a 4 set of Azlerite, which also has agresium, titanium, whatever. And they are slightly different depending on the head material. Titanium and Azlerite are always together. But if titanium is the main source you're looking at, the main signature is a little bit higher than if it's Azlerite, which is 3840. So yeah, this gets really nerdy and into the weeds. I recommend everybody, you know, either record what they're doing or pull out a little Microsoft notepad like this and just start familiarizing yourself with signatures and all. It'll make life a lot easier and more efficient when you're out. So sometimes the signatures can be a little finicky. They'll tend to go away and come back. Okay, there we go. There's a 21425. There's the resite there. So another trick that you can do is you can actually narrow your scan. See, we got all the way down to 11 degrees. I have it bound to my stick. And now if I scan, it'll more precisely find it. And then you can hold the trigger and actually scan that area to see for sure. So there's the resite. Let's see, do I have this one listed? We got a too narrow of a scan, so I got the individual rocks. So it's a 21425. Do I have that listed here? I don't. So let's see what that is. Let's go ahead down to about a 22-degree scan to pick them out, and we're gonna hold down our scan button. So even from this far away, we're gonna know what this is. Aluminum. So now what I can do is actually make a note that at this site, aluminum is gonna have the 21425 signature, which is likely a cluster of 5 or 6. The lesser rare stuff will tend to be in larger clusters like that. Now, over time, you're gonna build yourself a bit of a portfolio that's gonna give you a really quick way to reference what you're looking at and what you might need for certain blueprints, because you can be like, okay, I'm looking specifically for 23590 or its variant for whatever for Orotite. This is what I need, this is where I gotta go, and then you can ignore anything you don't care about. All right, while we're on the way to the resite, let's take a peek at this real quick and show you guys where to find the scanning adjustments. If you go to vehicle scanning, here it is. Increase scanning angle, decrease scanning angle. Mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down in scanning mode is your standard way of doing this. I have it bound to my stick as well, so you can see how narrow. You can get all the way down to, what, 2 degrees for real deep penetration? I typically go between 45 and 22. You rarely have to go farther than that to get max range on scanning, and it doesn't matter if your radar's maxed out or not. I hope that radar gets more intricate use case like that to affect scanning more directly. That'd be really cool, but it's pretty negligible at the moment. Now, resite is just a really valuable material, so I would take it regardless of its quality, but this is pretty good. So this is a rather small rock. I think that our Hofstede would be able to handle this. So we're looking at 5,800 mass. That's pretty small. That's not too bad. It's going to be a pretty volatile material. We also got laranite here. You can see all your qualities right over here. You can use the F key to, hold down, zoom in, look at what you're looking at. Some of these, like hephaesonite, where the words go over the numbers, you kind of have to zoom in and sort of squint and pray that you're seeing the right numbers. I definitely think they need to do some sort of contrast, shadow behind back end, or like black outline or something on that, because it can be a bit of a pain to deal with, especially as small as it is, depending on people's eyesight too. I've got pretty decent eyesight, and even me sometimes I'm just like, wait, is that a 6 or an 8? It needs work, but it's pretty usable. Now we come in here again with this ship in space. You don't have to worry so much about the weird thing that's happening right now, or on planets where when you get out of your pilot seat, your ships kind of like raise up. That does affect the mole on moons and planets, not really so much out here in the vacuum. So I like to get up to about 50, 48 to 50 meters away, and then I hit my speed limiter, which is a must-have function in the mole for staying in place. And sometimes you'll still get a little micro drift because the game didn't detect it. Your speed limiter actually went to 0. So all you got to do is just hit it again. Just send it all the way down. I've got it on my tab. It should be on by default too for most of you guys, and I think it's left alt scroll wheel. Yeah, that'll also raise and lower it, but it's a great way to lock yourself in at that like 50-meter range, and then you really just want to nose up to where the asteroid is just out of sight. That's all you need. At this point, we can hop out. I am going to make sure shields are on anytime I'm mining to absorb any impacts that might come our way, because when you're mining in the mole, you can't just bail if you overcharge a rock. You're going to take the hit in most cases. So you want to be super careful. Good positioning, shields up, and just kind of be ready. We're going to take a look and see if we even need to do anything to this resite rock outside of, actually, we'll demonstrate gadget use. I know it's a small resite rock, but let's demonstrate some gadget use. Another important thing with gadgets, I haven't tested it in this build, but it is sort of a known thing in mining circles. Don't keep a gadget equipped to your person. In the past, even in your ship, if you had a gadget equipped to you and you fractured a rock, especially a more volatile rock, it would end up killing you. It's really weird. So a lot of us, we choose to keep our gadgets in our storage crates until we need to use them. I think for this one, we'll just use an Optimax. We don't really need to waste a Saber or a Wave Shift, but we can use the Optimax because there's a 60% chance that the broken clusters of rocks afterwards will be more grouped together in a good way, like more of the resite, less of the inert. That's one of the reasons the Optimax is so cool, and it also gives you a nice resistance debuff to the asteroid. So we'll go ahead and double click that, which will equip it to our backpack, which you can also see on your tools tab here. Again, I would not just walk around like this. I would only do this when you're equipping a gadget, just to be safe. All right, make sure, of course, helmet is on before you go EVA always. And this is kind of gadget hard mode as well, doing this EVA. Now, for the most part, the ghost shows up, which you'll see here in just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and cycle through. There might be a more efficient way to do this, but cycle all the way to the gadget. There we go. In space, it doesn't really matter if you have it like above your head or below your head when you put it on, because you can just spin around. Upside down is irrelevant. But what you're gonna have to do anytime you're using a gadget is hold down F, right click, hold, and then go to place to get it to show its ghost, which now it finally does pretty consistently on asteroids. There might be a chance it doesn't. That gets to be a real pain because you sort of have to just finagle with it to get it to actually place. But then as you get close, you'll get the placement icon on the actual rock, just like that. Once you see that, just stop yourself, go ahead and left click to place the gadget, and see that it placed it upside down. But hey, we're in space, so we can just roll over to see this. Now, this is the part that can be a little annoying sometimes. Looks like we got an easy mode alignment here, which is great, but trying to do this while EVA can be a little finicky because you're holding F trying to, mess with these sliders while your character's kind of bobbing around, which can be annoying. So these are how, like, you have this background one below the sort of ghost image that you want to align to. This is already giving us a pretty simple wave function to align to, but all of these will affect where that goes. And in space, you often have to kind of click a lot to get that to move, but all of these will affect it in different ways and how it moves the overall system. And you need to get it above 90 for it to actually turn on. So we're gonna move this. There we go. We're getting real close. There's 92, 95. I saw 95, 96. Let's go. All right. Then you just hit activate. It's not on until you actually activate it and it's doing its thing. And there's a chance that you can recover it too. So you want to look for little blinking red or green light when you actually break the asteroid. I've been pretty unlucky that most of the time my gadgets just end up getting destroyed or go off into the nothingness of space, and I never get them back. That's why it's always good to carry some extras, 4 to 6 of each one that you like, and then use them when you need to. This is for demonstration purposes. We definitely don't need to use this gadget for this rock. It's small enough that it wouldn't be an issue, but just to show you guys how to put the gadget on the asteroid for educational reasons. Then we're gonna hop over to our Hofstede with our Torrent 3s. Watch how fast we fracture this thing because of these Torrent 3s. And honestly, it's these resite rocks that make me need to use the arbor head quite a bit, because I bet we're gonna get really small parts that we still have to fracture again. All right, make sure your laser's always reset to 0. Don't just click on. So we're gonna get a little window back, not much. Instability is pretty high. We're just gonna slowly crank up. I'm being really patient at this upper point here because of that instability. It'll spike randomly, and remember, we can't just get away. We don't want to take a hit from a resite rock. Now watch that charge window fill up. Look how fast that is. And that's why too, because you need that time. Bam! Good break. Now I bet some of these are gonna be tiny. Yeah, 868. If I touch this with the Hofstede now, oh wow, it's actually not blitzing up immediately. Oh, there it is. Yep, see, it won't take much. It's super unstable. See, the stuff over 1,000 isn't too much, or sorry, the Hofstede's not too much for it. You just gotta be gentle. Versatility and patience go a long way when mining. Look how fast it's charging that rock. Torrent 3s for the win. All right, we got the thousands done. We should be able to do the rest with the arbor head. We don't want to risk overcharging and honestly just losing the material, even if it doesn't affect our ships quite as bad. I did notice that in 4.7, our mining ships are a bit tougher, or the explosions from asteroids are a bit weaker, so some rocks will destroy you. I was out mining with Hawks Gaming, and a very, very big Hephaestonite rock blew up and took him out in the golem, and he was like 300 meters away. It was wild. We thought we were in a safe area. My ship got badly hurt to where it was just falling and nosing down. It couldn't hold itself up. He just got completely eviscerated. Damn, 100% resistance, even in the 800s. So yeah, I guess these two we can't break. Wait a minute. Hold up. Our gadget survived, and look where it is. We gotta go outside to get it anyway, so why don't we try something? You're also about to see why a lot of people would prefer these turrets stay open to vacuum the way they are without any glass, because it allows you to just come right out through the turret itself. It looks like it's messed. Oh no, hang on, you get back here. It's busted, so we can't use it like it is, but I think I can fix it. Yes! I've always wanted to verify if that worked or not. Oh my god, it worked! I thought it was dead. Holy shit. Okay, so you can repair these. No way. Alright, hang on. Oh, that's wild. Look at that. It takes it down to easy. A lot more stable than it would have been on the Hofstede. It doesn't take long to jump out of the turret, throw another gadget on if you want. If it's a valuable enough material, you're gonna make it work. Now, did the gadget survive again? Can we just repair it and reuse a third time? Or did it get yeeted into space? There it is. Okay, hold on. Wait, it's still in good shape. It didn't get destroyed. I think as before, I think I hit it with my mining laser. Yeah, buddy! Just reusing the same gadget over and over? Okay. Right-click place, get the ghost icon, place it on the rock. I'm like, yeah, you could just throttle the other laser to try to make this work. But, you know, the whole goal is to show you guys different ways that you can do this, and especially do it safer. 97, let's go. I'm just gonna hit it there. All right, let's pull it all in. And there it is, floating away. That's my little Optimax that could, man. You did so good. Grab it, throw it in my backpack. It's still in good shape. Let's go. All right, before we head down and do some examples of being on planet side, moon side, or using the geo, we're going to do a quick demonstration of what it's like to swap a component out in the field, because I feel like running a torrent on my Helix. So torrent 3 double surge sounds like a good combo to me. We have right alt K to unlock our port so it doesn't show it. It should be. Hang on, let me go shields up and then see. There we go. Now it says ship ports unlocked. Now that the shields are coming up. Sometimes the text will overlap. It can be a little weird, so you need to mess with it to figure out if you're actually got your shields or your ports unlocked. We're running super low signature right now, and we're going to hit our speed limit to bring us down to 0, so we don't have a case where our ship is just running away from us as we try to EVA. You wouldn't want that. So speed limiter active. Let's go swap out one of the surges on the nose. Now that is the only laser head that doesn't have the ability to, or sorry, that's the only laser head with glass, so you can't EVA through it, which is fine. And pop over here and grab ourselves a torrent 3. There we go. Looks kind of similar to a surge, a little bit bulkier. Beautiful shot of bloom in the background as we EVA. Nice weathering on the mole's paint. I love that. Been using her a lot. I really don't like claiming my ships if I don't have to, especially because I like seeing how much they're used, which is great. So for symmetry reasons, I think I'll make this bottom one the torrent 3, and we'll keep the top 2 as the surges. So now that ports are off, all you gotta do is just hit the module. If you're not careful, you'll hit the whole head, just like that. So aim at the module, and then pull it off, following the arrow. It can be a little finagly, there we go. Now, make sure you have it stable before you take it off of your tractor beam so it doesn't fly off into Never Never Land, because it will just keep going now. Unselect it, hit our inventory, grab, drag it into our inventory, and then grab the other one down here to drop. It'll appear right in front of us. We're just gonna back up, attach it, and then line this up. There we go. There it is, and we're on. Important to keep in mind that if you don't store your ship and actually unequip and re-equip and save, when you repair, it will revert back to your original module selections on your laser heads. Keep that in mind. If you want to save the changes you made out in the field, you got to store your ship, you got to go into your mobi-glass, and you actually have to select your mole, unequip what you have, save, and then re-equip what you have, save, and then now it is a permanent change. All right, now for this point, you want to pick a spot to enter into the atmosphere. I would avoid places of high contention like Shepherd's Rest, try derelict outposts of any type, and then I honestly would break Quantum before you get within 30-40 kilometers of it and go the other direction, like heading over here to the left or something. Sometimes when using this technique, you might get the Quantum audio bug, but if you hit your SCM or your nav modes, it'll actually like stop you. So I just switched back to SCM mode. Now I'll go back to nav mode and kind of take a peek to what I'm around. So we're about 50 kilometers from that outpost. We just don't want to be too close to POIs where other players are. You know, we want to be smart about where we're going. So this is looking really good. God, Bloom is so gorgeous, man. Beautiful planet. So we're just going to head on down in this general direction, burning away from the POI that we were flying towards. I like to be at least 100 kilometers away from the closest POI, and you can use your headings at the top of the HUD here. You actually have a compass bearing when you're on planets and moons, so you can keep flying in that direction. Like if you know that bearing 010 is going to be the closest POI, and turn around and then keep your eyes on your heading up here on your compass, fly the opposite direction as you're mining and stuff without having to completely like turn around and look for POIs every time. And as we're getting closer to the surface, it's good to shift into VTOL mode for support. And a full 1G atmosphere. Alright, so if you don't know, if you see a really high number on your scanning signature above our compass heading, it says 63,000. Those are going to be your hand and rock minables. If they are more of the lower asteroid stuff, like right there, that's Recite, 3385. Is it this upper one? Or where is that? Yeah, I think it's that 7 kilometer one, which again, remember, you can narrow your ping, scan out, and then actually grab it with your radar to see what it is. Although, there it is, Recite Ore. Okay, it was playing hard to get until we like looked away from it. Sometimes that'll happen if you go into your SCM mode. It might show you stuff more consistently like that. When you go into nav mode, it goes away. But yeah, we got some Dolomite over there, we got some Recite over there, and then we got some Aphorite here. So I'll show you guys on this Aphorite node. This is what I do to avoid wasting time. You can scan these with your ship. So depending on what your threshold is, like for me, it's anything 700 and up, I might not want to land and grab the geo if none of this cluster are over 700 quality. What's kind of cool too is after you scan them, they lose that sort of white outline, so you can kind of keep track of what you scanned and what you haven't. At least that's how it's worked for me. You notice the ones to the left of our scanner are grayed out. You can still rescan them, but they don't have that highlight. So it's like checking things off a list. You know, the white highlight goes away after you scan it, which is really cool. There we go, 765. Finally, one worth mining. Let's see what else we got here. You can also scan these with the geo once you know you've got something worth grabbing. Oh my goodness, is that an 800 or a 600? 684. It's not horrible. Still not quite 700, but we got one over 700, so we are going to go down and grab that. It is very normal for ships to get all wobbly when you land, especially on these uneven terrains. So that's why once you touch down as firmly as you can, you want to kill your engines, so that way your ship doesn't fly away. So especially because it's wobbling and weirdness on this cargo elevator with the geos killed me before, I'm going to send this down from here. Remember, don't tractor it from the back. So maybe it's this one right here then. No, it was in the darker spot of the ground. There it is, 765. All right, make sure you're in low mode again, otherwise you're gonna end up blowing this rock up. Shift our power back down and just be patient. And we're not wasting our time on all the 200s and 300s that are surrounding this, because we know this is really the only one worth grabbing. There is like a 600 one next to us, but All right, then we pull it in. Just like that. We're done, moving on. Come back over here. I'm going to turn this way for ease of tractoring. Pop out. All right, remember what I said. Even if this happens, don't freak out. You're good. Keep your distance from it. It'll come on up. Watch this. Bam. Just like that. Now, once you're up here, grab it. Drop it. It's okay if it's like partially in the deck. It doesn't look great, I admit. but it's okay. I don't bother swapping out what I need from the Geopod until it's a bit fuller, but yeah, when it starts to get full, I'll just open it up with the little spot down here and then interact with the box, which now it's letting me carry it. See, guys, I wasn't crazy. So you carry it, place it on the deck so it grids, use your inventory system to swap between. You can't use the proximity inventory system to swap while it's in the geo like this, which is frustrating. I wish you could. It's not showing up, so that's why you got to pull the Geopod out. Just don't tractor it back here and grab the backpack and end up ripping it off the geo, because that'll ruin your time. That is pretty much it for mining out of the mole, the different ways that you can. All of this is applicable across the board for going after rocks or other ground mineable stuff with the geo. It's not bad, man. I love it. The mole has been an incredible ship. One thing you want to be careful on with refining right now is sending refined or completed refined orders straight to your ships. I wouldn't do that with the current stacking collision issues that I mentioned in my Hull C video, where boxes are appearing on top of each other. So send it to your station and then take it from the station and manually load it to your hauling ships to go sell whatever you need. Outside of that, for refining, I'm still using pyrotechnic chromalysis. It is the most expensive, but also the fastest, and that's mostly just for crafting stuff. And even with it being the most expensive, I'm spending on average like maybe 10 to 20k AUEC to very fast or very quickly refine the high quality stuff I'm using for crafting. I just dropped about 90k refining probably 2 million worth of Stileron, so definitely worth it in that sense. But you can use Farron Exchange or Denic Solventation that give you the same yield, but it's cheaper, just takes longer. Totally up to you guys, man. As far as selling ore, the quality currently doesn't affect it. So if you've got a bunch of Recite Stileron, 200 quality, whatever, go sell that and make bank to fund your crafting and mining journeys. I think I've crossed everything off the list for what I wanted to discuss with this updated masterclass guide to mining out of the mole solo. Please let me know what you guys think. Let me know all of your configurations down below. What are your favorite modules? What are your favorite gadgets? What are your craziest stories mining out of the mole? How many of you have been killed by your mole or your geo or sent through the planet? I haven't had that problem happen yet. I'm just trying to be really careful about how I land and how I do things to avoid it. But I love this ship. It is one of my first pledged ships back in 2020. And I will always have it in my fleet. If any of this didn't make sense, let me know in the comments. Probably can answer a lot of questions there as well. I think that's going to do it for me though, guys. Until next time, I will catch you out in the verse. Take care.